Have you ever had that feeling that your look is almost perfect, but something still seems out of place? Throughout 2 decades working with executive image consulting, I've noticed that many of us men who have crossed the 40-year threshold make basic mistakes with one of the most underestimated accessories, the belt. It's impressive how this small detail can both elevate and destroy a well-planned look. Today, I'm sharing the 7 most critical belt-related mistakes that mature men make and how to fix them. And the 6th item, it's particularly revealing because it's where many executives cut corners without realizing the negative impact on their image. If you correct just 3 of these mistakes, you'll immediately notice a difference in the cohesion of your look. Mistake 1. Excessively wide or narrow belts. For your body proportion, let's start with a fundamental mistake: wearing belts whose width is not in harmony with your physical structure. This error affects both men of robust build and slimmer ones. When we opt for an excessively wide belt for our structure, more than 4 centimeters for medium-built men, we create a visual cutting effect in the waist region, dividing the body in an unharmonious way. On the other hand, very narrow belts on men with robust structures look disproportionate, as if they were borrowed. The solution is simple. Men of medium or slim build generally benefit from belts between 3 to 3.5 centimeters in width, while men with a more robust structure can opt for models between 3.5 to 4 centi. This proportion creates visual balance without drawing undue attention to the waist. I learned this lesson when, after losing weight, I continued wearing my old wide belts. A more experienced colleague asked me why I was cutting my body in half with that seat belt. The observation made me completely reassess this choice. If you're recognizing value in these observations, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights based on real experience. Mistake 2. Ostentatious buckles or excessively visible logos. And you know what's even more revealing about a mature man? The type of buckle he chooses. Many of us fall into the trap of believing that a large buckle or one with visible logos communicates status, when in fact the effect is often the opposite. When we opt for oversized buckles or those displaying brands ostentatiously, we are communicating insecurity, as if we needed a flashy element to validate our presence. It's similar to wearing a very strong perfume in a meeting. Instead of impressing, it bothers. The more sophisticated approach is to prioritize buckles proportional in size to the belt, with classic and discreet designs. Materials can vary between silver, brushed nickel, or brass depending on the context. If the brand is visible, it should be subtle, never as a focal point. I understood this when, after investing in an expensive belt with a buckle that displayed the brand logo, I realized that younger colleagues were wearing the same type of piece. A mentor explained to me, visible logos are for those who still need to prove something. After 40, let your presence speak for you. If you're enjoying these tips, leave your like on the video. Your interaction helps this content reach more amazing people like you. Mistake 3. Misalignment between belt and footwear. This is a classic principle often neglected, the lack of harmony between the belt and footwear. I'm not just talking about color, but also style, texture, and level of formality. When we wear a formal smooth leather belt with textured casual footwear, or vice versa, we create a visual dissonance that compromises the coherence of the look. It's like wearing a silk tie with a flannel shirt, technically possible but stylistically conflicting. The most elegant solution is to maintain an intentional correspondence between these elements. Smooth formal belts match smooth leather footwear. Textured belts harmonize with footwear of similar style. As for colors, keeping the same family of tones still creates the most cohesive look. I had this revelation during a conference, when I noticed that the European executives I most admired always maintained a subtle harmony between their belts and footwear, a stylistic coherence that communicated attention to detail. And had you already realized the importance of this harmony? Share your experience in the comments. Mistake 4. Questionable quality leather or visibly worn. We come to a mistake that silently compromises your image, using belts of dubious leather quality, or keeping them even when they show obvious signs of wear. This problem affects even men who invest in quality suits. When we opt for synthetic leather belts or continue using pieces with cracks, we communicate a lack of attention to detail. It's like wearing a luxury watch with a worn strap. The contrast compromises the ensemble. The smarter approach is to invest in a few good quality genuine leather belts in versatile colors, black and dark brown for formal use, and perhaps light brown for casual. Genuine leather not only ages with more dignity, but also maintains its shape for much longer. I realized the importance of this when, during a negotiation, I noticed that my belt was visibly worn at the edges. That perception made me question what other flaws in my presentation I might be neglecting. If you're seeing the value of these observations, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Mistake 5. Inadequate length with excess tip or insufficiency. A constant technical error. Belts with inadequate length. This problem manifests both in excess tip that remains after the buckle and in insufficiency that barely allows the belt to be fastened. When we wear an excessively long belt, creating that tail that projects beyond the first loop, or so short that the tip barely passes through the buckle, we communicate a lack of precision. It's like wearing a jacket with sleeves that are too long, immediately visible as something out of proportion. The ideal solution is to choose belts, whose length, when buckled, allows the tip to pass the first loop and end at the beginning of the second, or approximately 7 cm beyond the buckle. For men with weight fluctuations, belts with 5 holes offer flexibility. I had this revelation when, in a photo, I noticed that my belt had an excessively long tip that created a strange volume under the jacket. A tailor explained to me, "A well-adjusted belt should do its job discreetly. Have you had difficulty finding belts with the ideal length? Share your experience." Mistake 6. Reversible. Belts of questionable quality. And now we come to the 6th item, particularly revealing: the dependence on reversible belts of questionable quality. Many executives see these belts as a practical solution without realizing how they compromise their image. The problem with most reversible belts is not the concept, but the execution. The construction to allow reversibility often results in an inferior product. The leather is thinner, the edges tend to separate, and the rotating buckle creates a point of failure. The more sophisticated solution is to invest in individual quality belts for each need. If practicality is essential, there are some premium brand reversible belt options, but they cost more and still represent a compromise. I understood this when, after years depending on reversible belts, I realized I was constantly replacing them. A simple calculation revealed that I had spent more on replacements than I would have invested in 2 higher quality belts. Mistake 7. Stylistic inconsistency. Between the belt and the rest of the look. Finally, the 7th mistake. The lack of stylistic coherence between the chosen belt and the rest of your look. This problem affects even men who have already mastered the basics. The error occurs when the belt style is misaligned with the formality level of your clothes. Examples include wearing a thin, elegant belt with jeans, or a casual belt with a formal suit. It's like wearing running shoes with a tuxedo, an immediately perceptible dissonance. The more refined approach is to consider the belt as an integral part of the ensemble. For formal looks, opt for smooth leather belts with discreet buckles. For smart casual occasions, belts with slight texture work well. For casual moments, you have more freedom to explore textures, as long as you maintain coherence with the rest of the look. I had this revelation when I realized that my belts had not received the same attention as the rest of my wardrobe. An image specialist showed me how this element could break the cohesion of a carefully constructed look. To recap, the 7 belt mistakes that men over 40 should avoid are choosing disproportionate widths, opting for ostentatious buckles, creating misalignment between belt and footwear, using questionable quality leather, getting the length wrong depending on dubious quality reversible belts, and creating stylistic inconsistency with the rest of the look. Correcting these mistakes doesn't require an extraordinary investment, just awareness and some strategic choices. A well-chosen belt doesn't draw attention to itself, but silently elevates the entire ensemble. If this content was useful, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Next week, I'll share the 5 essential accessories that every man over 40 should have. Which of these mistakes did you identify in your own wardrobe and plan to fix first? Share your experience in the comments.